small flower and felt the wind blowing it. As I sat there, perched behind my camera, amazed by the image I was about to capture. In those 30 seconds, I fell in love with photography. The one talent which I possess that I cherish most is my photography. All I knew at that time was I needed this freedom and I longed to feel the confidence. Thus, at the age of 13, I picked up my first camera and began my journey. Everywhere I looked, I saw a new opportunity to create a beautiful image. My creativity became never-ending, and for the first time in my life since being a child, I felt alive with opportunity. I was free to express myself in a way which I was unable to do with words. I had never been skilled with words or explaining the way I saw life, so photography became my voice. As time went on, I began to take the once negative idea of being critiqued and evolve into a positive. 3 years ago, if someone critiquing my artwork would have said, "I liked it, but the coloring is a bit off or the subject matter is just not there," I would have become discouraged and set back. Today, these words became my stepping stones, my heartless, and my inspiration. Without being critiqued, I would not be able to grow as a photographer or as a person. Aloha judges, my name is Jenna Rose. Today, I am going to present my senior project and my topic is flower photography. Flower photography refers to a wide range of photography taken outdoors and devoted to displaying natural elements such as landscapes and wildlife. Photographing flowers are very difficult to learn, but by the help of my mentor, he had the chance to teach me and showed me everything I needed to know about photography. He told me that every time I take a picture, I have to follow the tips and techniques that will guide me through, such as the rule of thirds, lighting, and focusing. The rule of third is a rule to fragment a frame into 3 parts, both horizontally and vertically in imagination. And the crossing point of the imaginary vertical and horizontal line is a point of interest, which is very important to place the informative objects to make the image more interesting. Since my mentor told me about the rule of thirds, I started to use it more often because every photographer is supposed to know this and how to use it more. Secondly, I'm going to show you a picture and I'm going to explain the concept I had early and how I got better later. The most factors that I consider during photographing flowers are the amount of light that is incident on the flower and the nature of light. I usually avoid harsh sunlight because it tends to cast harsh shadows. At the same time, I avoid photographing in the shadows because it tends to give me a color cast. The right amount of light on a flower can bring out the highlights as well as make an interesting shot of an ordinary flower. Photography really comes down to the simple act of capturing light. Seeing and understanding how that light can be used or captured photographically is really an art form in itself. Some of the most masterful photographers of all time, such as Edward Curtis or Ansel Adams, were extremely skilled in using light to make their subjects stand out clearly. Here are the 2 pictures that I've taken that illustrate the use of light to bring out the details. This was taken in the evening around 5 p.m. on a nice and clear day. I could use a small aperture to bring out all the details that I needed from front to back because of the bright sunshine. Aperture is really important to control the picture. The aperture lets in the light and the light is the most important thing to my picture. So I set the aperture to control both the light and the amount of focus or depth of field. I included as much of the environment as possible to give a natural look to the flower. I also have noticed the same thing when I photograph flowers against a lighted backdrop. All of the detail is in the photograph, but it is hidden by the contrast. I kept trying because I'm convinced that the secret to photographing flowers is in the background. I have noticed that there are pictures I have taken that if they have a lot of details but a pretty narrow dynamic range, then they seem not to be improvable with adjustments, even contrast and sharpening. Sunlight can also be used to give a dramatic effect to the flowers. Here are 2 more best examples that I can give an effect of light on a flower. This shot were taken in the afternoon on the same day about minutes apart. The choice of this flower was based on the fact that it was illuminated by a soft sunlight. The flower is not illuminated, but illuminated enough to give it a dark background. Thirdly, anytime I take a picture, focus is important. Most of the time, it's a fairly easy thing to do, but it gets a bit more complicated when my subject is very small, and I needed to get real close to it. In fact, sometimes the way to focus on a close subject doesn't involve the focus adjustment much at all. Most people who take family pictures or photos of other large subjects understand how important it is to frame their subject in the background to provide the best environment for a nice picture. In macro photography, the frame is based on how close you can focus to the subject. I wanted the best detail, so I had to frame the subject as close to the lens as possible to best fill the viewfinder with the flower. As I can see, focus and frame work together to draw attention to what I want people to see. It takes practice to get the eye for framing my subject, but without a useful framework, the picture is at best boring, even if it's in focus. Focus and frame are important functions of photography that must work together to draw attention to the things I want people to see. All the shots I have taken of the flowers are handheld. This gives me more freedom to move around while looking through the viewfinder for distracting elements in the background. So the only equipment that I have added to my arsenal is a 500D macro filter. It is pretty tricky to use the camera with the 500D attachment, but once you figure that out, the results are really good. Here is an example of a shot that I had taken during my first day out with the 500D filter. Therefore, it took me a lot of days practicing these techniques and learn how to use them. I've learned a lot and I've had many experiences, and I never challenged myself on a personal level to look beyond just taking elegant photographs, to please someone else or to fill white space. I've learned the importance of digging deeper to find something meaningful and interesting about my subject. The overall improvement that I see in my own work owes much to the application of methods, ideas, and techniques that I have learned through experimentation and practice. Though my photography was evolving, I still felt as though my photography were missing substance. This is when the day I saw one flower in my front lawn comes into play. I realized exactly why I love photography. I love the idea that I can find the beauty in all aspects of life and capture these images for eternity. In my eyes, there is nothing more beautiful than a flower. Thus, flower became my muse. With this realization, my photographs became remarkable, and I had finally realized freedom. The innocence and playfulness inside of me was coming alive, and the flower I photographed helped me to remember that I can do anything and everything of which I dream, whether it is becoming a mermaid or an astronaut. I would like to thank my mentor, Mr. Nathan Rodriguez, for his unbelievable support and encouragement throughout this entire process. He has provided many opportunities and learning occasions that I am sure I will use wherever my future may bring me. I am extremely grateful for his unfaltering support and words of encouragement. I now see that photography opens my mind to the beauties of our world and gives me a creative outlook on every situation. I now see the beauty in all people and situations, no matter how ugly they may seem. I'm in love with photography. Thank you for your time.